Welcome to the post office, getting a chance to catch up with people that I've just wanted to catch up and talk to. That's what we're doing here on this. And Cruz Pedregon, the two-time NHRA funny car champion, joins me. Hey, man, how are you?
Great, Steve. How about you?
I am fantastic. I'm going to go back a little bit because this started years ago. I think it was 2018. You had retweeted something that we did, and I knew you were a midget sprint car guy.
Yep.
So, but I was like, well, I'm going to reach out. Probably Cruz's PR guy. I'm going to reach out, and I sent a direct message, and it's not Cruz's PR guy. It's Cruz, watches Wing Nation. And I said, so what are you doing around the Four Wide Nationals in 2018? And I think Atlanta might have been the next week. And you're like, well, we're just sticking around after that race on Monday. So we had you come in to do our TV show, but you kind of brought a special little present, or little treat for our show when you won that Four Wide Nationals, and you dropped a Wally right there on the table, and we had a great time.
Yeah,
and it's been great ever since. Man, it's great to see you, great to catch up, great to follow your journy.
Same thing, Steve. And last time I saw you was at the Chili Bowl a few months ago. But yeah, it was great here. The Four Wide to win that race, 4 years ago now, and time to win it again. We're the season's starting off really good for us. We're fourth in the points in the NHRA funny car points right now, so things are good. We haven't hit our stride yet. We're kind of hanging in there, going to this quarterfinals, semifinals. But we're one of the cars that can win this race this weekend here at the Four Wide.
I see this, and I'm looking at your specifically qualifying results: 4th, 5th, 3rd, 7th, and 3rd.
Yep.
Boy, you look like you've got that thing dialed in really good for the on the speed front.
Yeah, JC and the team are doing a great job. And what's hard about that? It's like dirt racing. Not every track's going to be hooked up. Not every track's going to be on the top or the bottom. It's being able to adjust the different track conditions. Like we were on the West Coast where it's dry air. Cooler, and then we come out to Houston where it's high humidity, a little bit warmer, track's a little bumpy, has some character to it. So really it says a lot about the crew chiefs that set the cars up, about how they're consistent, they're able to make those adjustments. So, we're right there. Like you said, you just rattled off a bunch of stats there with the qualifying, but race day, it's about the opponent. You could go up against the guy that's the hard part about drag racing is you could race a car that has the quick time and you can be the second quickest and you won't advance. So really but the Four Wide is you just throw them in there, mix them up. You only have to win if you're in your group in your quad, and you can win. You can be runner up and still advance. So it's kind of a unique thing. The fans like it. There's only two events like this in the season. There's the one a couple weeks ago in Vegas, and then there's this one here, and then after that it's just the regular 2 wide for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I want to qualify this. We are recording this before going into the Four Wide. We run into this in NASCAR, okay? Now, we started at the LA Coliseum. We're running Rovals. We ran a dirt race in Bristol. Right. Do you like NHRA? The Four Wide is something that's rather new. Do you like mixing things up and having a couple of those on the schedule?
Steven, only a pro like you would really break it down like that and understand that's exactly right. There are not a lot of drivers. There's some drivers that don't really care for the format. I like it. Or likened it to our road course. It's not the same. The drivers are looking at an extra set of bulbs and has to pay attention to how they stage and how quickly they stage. And so there's a little bit different of a curveball there, but you still have to go fast. You still have to keep it in the groove. You still have to beat the opponent. And then you get to the final where there's 4 cars. You still have to beat the other guys. So it's a different format, but it does throw a little wrench in there. And for that reason, I like it. It's not the same. It's different, but the concept's still the same. You got to just win, baby, as the Raiders say.
Yeah, and you are a Raiders guy. I saw you got to tour their facility in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago.
Very cool facility. It's what I expected. Everything's plush, and I got to see the owner, Mark Davis's little private suite there, and all white, and it was just it's really really clean, and really I love those colors. All my cars and all my equipment is, for the most part, if I have the choice, silver and black. So it was very cool to visit.
Nice stuff. Getting back to the drag racing, you mentioned JC having that bond, and we talk about that in sprint car racing. We talk about that in NASCAR racing. How important is it, that bond with you and your crew chief?
Well, first of all, we call him JC. It's John Collins.
Right. Okay.
So we call him JC for short. And Rip is the assistant. And then we have our great car chief, Ryan. So I think all the guys collectively are important. And JC and I have a great relationship. We talk before, during, and after the race. And so I think really it's really a combination of just having a good team behind you. And I always make it like like a football team. You have your line, which is the crew guys, and they're important. You get one guy through there, and you're on quarterback's on his back. the driver's like the quarterback. He's the trigger man. He's the guy that's that's really making it happen. But he has to have the team around him to make it happen. So for me, I'm very fortunate that I spent quite a few years searching for that team and that leadership that I have now with JC and Rip and Ryan. So we have it now. The car, you see the results, and now it's just a matter of beating the competition and and being there at the end, really.
I remember when you came in here in 2018, you'd had a long dry spell and you got the win. No long dry spell now. You won twice last year. Right. Really, it's got to be exciting to see this, to see this performance, this continued performance that you're riding now at this point.
Yeah, it's just in time for the competition to get better too. So we had to make a move, and for me, I try to do it all myself.
Yeah.
But Steve, if you've been out to the drag races, any drag racing or even any kind of racing, it's too much for one person. You have to have your infrastructure, you have to have your core guys, and you can't just do it alone. And so for me to be able to have guys that I can count on and I can just focus on driving and the ownership part of it, it makes my job a lot easier.
When I think I saw you guys, I think I went up to Englishtown or no, it was Reading. I was up in Reading, Maple Grove, and you're one of your guys, your PR guy or business manager. Someone gave me a tour of the compound there.
Yep.
You guys travel. It's amazing. Can you kind of describe a little bit about what all you have contained with your operation on a race weekend?
Really, we have two shops on wheels. We have two trailers, not one but two, and it's much like an outlaw team or an all-star sprint car team. Everything we need is in the trailer, but we also work out of the trailer, much like a sprint car, wing sprint car teams do. But we have two of them. We need two of them to haul all this stuff, and typically we haul 3 bodies, 2 complete cars with 3 bodies. Bodies are like wings. Yeah. You knock a motor out, and there goes the body. So we have the bodies, and they take up a lot of room. A funny car is about 18 feet long, so our transporters are 56 feet in length, and they're packed full of stuff. They're usually 80,000 pounds going down the track. And sometimes, Steve, we cannot go back to the shop to regroup or restock. So we have to be able to carry enough equipment to carry us through. For instance, the Western Swing that's coming up here in July, it's Denver, Seattle, Sonoma. And so we have to have enough equipment, pistons, rods, spare parts, sleeves, all the stuff that we consume to be able to not have to ship stuff in. So, but it's just a shop on wheels, and all the tools, all of our SnapOn tools are in there, and everything that we possibly need. We joke around, if we need a spare body and spare this, we might need a spare driver too. So we try not to use that stuff, but you never know with today's race. And, you run these cars so hard, nowadays. And I just mentioned the competition. We have a great car and great team, but so do the other guys. Yeah. There's so many. Ron Capps it won the championship last year. Well, he seems like he's back running good again. And, you've got Matt Hagan, who just formed with Tony Stewart team. And, John Force is always tough, and with his team car also Robert Height. So, we're as good as we've been, and is probably as good a car I've driven in probably 15, 20 years, but also the competition's never been better. So it's, but no, it'll be good mixing it up. I think we have a good shot, and it's good for the fans because there's no runaway clear cut guy right now. It's just going to be a shootout down the stretch.
I was blown away when I walked through with the engines, and I don't know why I didn't assume this, but you guys' preparation, you almost have to think worst case scenario that if I blow an engine up and advance or blow an engine up in every run, you guys carry a lot of power plants that are pretty much ready to bolt in and go, correct?
Yeah, we do. And let me break it down for some of your sprint car fans and midget fans out there. We do to our engines what you guys do to your chassis. You can tear a chassis apart, have it bare bones, put it back together. Where you guys bring your engines or sealed heads on it, ready to go. Our engines come, we buy the block, we buy the crank. So we assemble our own engines, and we don't really tear the cars apart like the and a lot of guys, for good reason, we don't make contact with the wall or run into other. So our focus is on the engine and the clutch department. So we take those apart, put them back together just like an outlaw team would a chassis. So for that reason, we have to have mechanics and techs. So we have one guy specifically that all he does is build short blocks. Then we have a guy that just builds the blowers. And then we have a guy that just works on the pistons and the rod assembly. So we have those specialty guys, and once we build an engine, it's ready to go. And typically under the bench, we'll have 5 or 6 engines with everything minus the manifold and the superchargers. So we can pull that right out of the drawer there. And instead of getting a winch like I see some of the guys do, we get 4 strong guys and lift it up by the head studs and just put that baby right in there, and they muscle it in there and they start putting it together. We used to, back in the day, have a little overhead crane deal, but we figured it's easier just to get a couple. That's why the guys the other day somebody was joking, "Hey man, the guys are in their 20s on your team."
Yeah,
Look, they work hard and they have to muscle these engines in and out of there. So, but it's a little different. But yeah, our focus is on the engine department. We tear those things apart every run. Pistons come out, rods. We have to. That's the maintenance part of our operation.
Gosh, that's fascinating. That really is neat stuff for sure. You had shared with us, and I kind of want to ask you to share it again because it's 4 years ago now. The last when you were here in studio, we also chatted with you from your iRacing rig at one time during the pandemic. But you had shared we were like funny car versus sprint car. And you took the body off the funny car and you started describing it. It's like, wait a minute, there's similarities between these two bare-bone chassis that you do and our sprint car guys do.
Very much so. You take a body off of a nitro funny car, really, and take the just the car sitting there, take the wing off of a sprint car and maybe the hood, and you have a very similar chassis. I mean, it's a chromoly chassis with the engine sitting in front, right in front of the driver. There's not a lot of room between the back of the engine and where the driver sits. There's a little more compact in a dragster. I'm sorry, a funny car. Funny car is 125-inch wheelbase. What's a sprint car? 80?
Yeah, somewhere in that
Yeah,
range.
the wheelbase.
It's shorter wheelbase.
But it's a little shorter wheelbase. But the idea, if you think about the right rear or the left rear for that matter, and how they grow in size, it's my understanding that the sprint car technology, the tire technology, came from drag racing. If you look at the tires back, Jan Opperman, kind of the older guys back in the 60s and maybe even the 70s, they didn't grow. They didn't have it wasn't the marshmallow looking big tire that we have now. Well, that technology, it was my understanding, came from drag racing, which is what you see today. Now, if you look at a car at, let's say, Eldora, a sprint car, Eldora, or say Knoxville, where they're really at high speed, you can see the tire egg shape and it's tall. Stand up. Well, that's the same thing a drag race tire does. It from the inertia, the energy, it just gets taller and skinnier. So there's a lot of similarities, and I tell people all the time, hey, I love sprint cars and midgets because they're a lot like what I do. They're just different. They turn. They're made to turn. Our cars are made to go straight. But again, now sitting in the car from a driver's perspective. A funny car, you're more laying down in it a little bit. To get the height down. We're kind of laying in it at a little bit of an angle, where a sprint car, you're more upright and driving it. But you have to wheel these cars. There's a lot of people think, oh man, what's so hard about a drag car? You just point it straight. Oh no, these cars, a drag race, especially a funny car with 11,000 horsepower, it's trying to do everything but go straight. And then you have the air pushing. Imagine the air foil on a funny car with the front end pushing down. It's really locked down, but it also, when it gets out of shape, it takes that much more energy to pull it back into the center. And really, the crew chiefs tell you, hey, we want it in the groove. In other words, they're going to give you 2 or 3 feet, maybe 2 feet, left or right. And if you get it out of the groove, it's going to want to spin the tire. So it's very important for a driver to really manhandle it and muscle and get the elbows up, like they say, and keep it in the groove, all the while having to leave on time, cut a light, figure out where you are, make sure you're in your lane. Then you got to hit the parachute at the finish line. So, I'm not saying I'm a sprint car driver, but it's a little bit harder than people think.
I can imagine, and it happens. It happens so quickly.
It does.
What's the first run of a year like? Like, is there a muscle memory that you have with that?
Even 2 weeks. I was not in the car after Vegas for a couple of weeks, and we went last week to Houston. And even that first run on Friday, I was a little bit, at least for me, this is the case of me. I have to warm up. I have to get a couple runs in under my belt before I start to breathe easier and start to calm, because I get in the car and I feel like a little bit of fish out of water. So, but yeah, there's a little bit, I think, a little muscle memory, just comfort and just focus. You kind of let things happen. But a drag race car, I think the tough part about a drag car is they go so fast, they go a little quicker than you can think. Yeah. So you're doing a lot of things off of instinct, and just you have to trust the car's going to do the right thing. But a lot of it is just, man, these cars, they go fast. There's some speed out there now, and we cover a lot of ground. But then I go to a sprint car race and I watch the wing cars, and they look like they're going 500 miles an hour too. So it's really cool to see the differences.
Perspective, that's for sure.
Yep.
When I read somewhere your first drag win was in a 1953 Kenworth truck.
Yeah.
How did that all come about?
Well, my dad owned a truck shop, a truck yard. We had a trucking company. We had a repair shop, and then we had an older 53 Kenworth that we had restored. Well, I got a flyer in the mail from a local track, Orange County Raceway, very famous, since closed, and advertising, 3,000 to win, and all, and they prepped the track. So we took my truck out there, and I went and I bracket raced it. In other words, it was like, so I had a 21-second dial in, and then so I wound up winning the race, and that was that was 15 at the time. I had my CDL per my dad's. I was able to do it through my dad owning the trucking company. So I was able to get it before 16. So yeah, that was the start of my career. A 53 Kenworth. It ran 21 seconds in the quarter mile. I think every car out here in the parking lot can run probably in the 18, so it was pretty slow. But I was in there banging gears with the old 13 speed, and but it really started my career. It made me, but I think it spoiled me for a little bit. I think at that point I thought, I could win every race. My dad raced. I just won this race, and I learned real quick that's not the case. You can't win every race.
Yeah, my daughter, taking this to kids and the mindset of a 15-year-old. My daughter, like, the worst thing in the world happened. It was great. She's on a soccer team, and they won every game the first year.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's what we do.
Yeah, right.
And I'm literally listening to this, and I'm like, I don't wish my daughter to get on a losing team next year.
Right.
But I don't need her to think that this is the way life is. And sure enough, she got on a team that lost more than they won. And boy, those first few weeks to learn that, yeah, that's cool. When did you discover sprint cars, and where?
Well, it was at Ascot. I've told this story a few times. So our shop was in Gardena,
right.
Ascot, the famous Ascot Park with the Agajanians that ran that. We're still friends with those guys, Kerry and Chris and all them, and JC Jr. And so we used to hear these cars at the end of the day, especially on the weekends, on Saturday. My dad worked 7 days a week in Gardena. They were right off of Main Street in the 91 freeway. So we would hear Ascot was right, literally probably as a crow would fly, maybe a mile, 3/4 of a mile away. We'd hear these engines. They sounded really cool. Well, finally we went over. I say we jumped the fence, but we actually got tickets to get in there, and we saw these sprint cars. It was Dean Thompson, Bubby Jones, Brad Knopfsinger, who I think is still involved with racing here.
Talked to him last week. Yeah, he's doing stuff up in Millbridge.
Yeah, and Mike Sweeney. These are guys that were out there getting after it. And then they have these big races, Pacific Coast Open, and they would invite Leland McSpadden, and Steve Kinzer was actually one of the drivers that would take the wing off and drive, in the local show. So that's where we fell in love with the sport. These cars they reminded me of old school drag cars. They wheelied, they had big power, they had these big old right rears on them. And so we were hooked at that point ever since.
That's neat. So did you, at that point, was it all drag racing? Did you ever think at that time to look into dirt track racing, or because of the family history, was it drag racing?
Well, it was always drag racing, but then we wanted to be able to afford it, and we didn't have the not even close to the funding, nor were we old enough. We were 12, 13, 14 years old. We wanted to go drag racing, but we really couldn't afford it. So the dirt track racing offered an affordable way to go racing, and so we started racing the go-karts at Ascot. They had a little quarter mile inside the half mile, and then so we started racing with PJ and Paige Jones. We became friends with Parnelli's two sons, and we formed a little team, and we started going around racing Ventura, Indian Dunes, and different places like that. So it was very competitive. We had Yamaha 100K engines with big old Burris tires on them and stuff. So that was really our racing. And so as we got older, my dad passed away. We figured out, you know what? I think I'm going to pursue drag racing through being a driver and getting to know people and kind of networking. I knew enough that I had to get out there and shuck and jive and get to talking to some of these owners and figure out a way to talk them into letting me drive one of their cars. But I did start out modestly in an older alcohol dragster, and so that was my entry. I said, I'll work for food, I'll drive for nothing, and beg, borrow, and all that kind of stuff. And so I got my break. But I did think about the next step for me was the TQs. At that time, the 3/4 midgets were running quite a bit out there. So it was an option that I thought about, but I thought my opportunities, because of my dad's career and his name, were more in drag racing. So that's what I pursued.
Yeah. I see 1986 go-kart champ at Ventura Speedway.
I was fast at Ventura. It was a little fifth mile there, and man, I had that car hooked up. I did all my own setups and everything, and so I knew I got around the track pretty good. And I still to this day I think about what could have been, so that's why the Chili Bowl. That's where the Chili Bowl comes into play. I'm able to go there, and not that I want to drive, because I think for me, I went there this year. I drove a little bit, but for me to be good at it and to do it the way I want to do it, I'd have to be out there
Yeah, sure.
pretty much run 15 or so races. And there's not enough hours in the day for me to do that. So we're segueing right into the
Yeah,
chili
sure,
bowl.
absolutely.
So I'm going to
Which
build. I'm building a couple of nice midgets, couple
Sure.
of late model current midgets. My buddy Steve Peterbilt Steve out of Tulsa is going to build them for me, along with some other friends. And so I want to take 2 cars of the chili bowl. They're going to be competitive and just go out and be a part of it and have fun. That's really my my circle track racing at this point
Yeah.
in my career.
So yeah, so this year you have the car, and I think it's a car you've had for a few years. You bought this past year with AJ Bender's car. Was that the one you bought like 4 or 5 years ago?
I bought it 4 or 5 years ago, and it looked like it. It was a nice, clean car, but it was older,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the. I like the cool body work with the, with the high rail, just with the
Sure.
car. But I like the cool look. I like the
Yeah.
cool stuff too. So I went there just to kind of get a feel for it. I went there with AJ, West Coast driver, and did a good job for us. But it just wasn't the kind of car that I wanted to be representing myself and my love for the sport. So I got the hook sunk in again, and so I went and I did some networking. I bought a car from Chad Boat and another one for my buddy Brian Dunlap out from Colorado, and I bought an SR11 engine, and I'm going to use my other Chevy motor for the other car. So I'm going to put 2 nice cars together, really state-of-the-art,
Yeah.
titanium, all the trick stuff, and just go there and have fun. I don't know who my second driver is going to be, but I'm going to put AJ in one of them. And like I said, that's my realistic today career. I'm not going to, I get offers to drive late models, which I love late models. I ran the Prelude for years
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Tony Stewart and all that. But, for me to do it, I want to do it and do good at it. So for me to give some younger kids an opportunity to drive my cars and really polish them and just say, hey, these are my cars. That's what I get out of it nowadays.
Your introduction to AJ Bender, he's a great, as Cruz said, a West Coast sprint car
Yep.
driver, was a sprint car race, Turkey Night at Ventura. Is that how you saw him? And
Yeah.
that's how that came together?
Yeah, so Turkey Nights is really a midget race.
Sure.
It's a 100-lap midget race, but the undercard, so to speak, is a 360 non-wing sprint car race. So there was these really good, Ryan Bernal, some really good names, and all of a sudden I see this kid come up from 4th and win the thing, and real smooth and look really in control. So he did an interview, and he had this crazy blonde hair, and he's from California. So I thought, hey, so I told my girlfriend Melissa, I said, there's our chili bowl driver right there. So I called him. He was interested, and and for me, the kick I get out of it is I didn't want any money for the ride. It's not for sale. It's something I want to do. I can afford to do it at the way I do it. And so I said, hey, just bring your helmet and get yourself there and stay. You get your own hotel, and I'll put you in my car, and away we go. And he did a good job. Like I said, my car was older, had some age to it, and I think we were running Saturday late in the afternoon, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. And I want to put him in some good equipment, so I dedicated some dollars to put together a nice car, and we're going to do it again. But we're going to do it 2 times. I mean, figured my goal, even if I could have one of my cars make the A, even if we tail the rear, that would be, and that's everybody's goal. All 300 guys that go there, right?
Yeah.
But so that's but it's a fun time. I get to see people that I look up to. I met Kyle Larson for the first time in the pit area, and so and Sunshine, and I got to see some of these guys. And so for me, it's like an all-star race, and nobody's racing at that time. Really, the series are all, everybody's still, still winter time. So to see all these, it's a great event. It's only a week, and I told my girlfriend, I says, oh yeah, we're going to go on vacation. I probably was going to go on. So I said, are you okay with going to the Chili Bowl for the vacation? She says, all right, we'll do the Chili Bowl for the vacation. So, but yeah, so that's my extracurricular career.
I think there's so much neat about the Chili Bowl, but the reunion aspect of that is one of the things. As I said, that's the last time I catch up with you, PRI on the Chili Bowl, and I just think it's such a neat thing, and the whole world is watching at that point too. It's just amazing.
And the racing is really, it's about the racing on the track, and the racing's amazing. You get all like 80 or 90 cars a night, competing, and just to be in that feature that night is really something. Because it runs Monday through Saturday. Right. But yeah, it's just, and then the main event is just off the wall. I mean, it's just it's crazy because you have the guy in the back row can win any feature anywhere in the country. So just the guys in that field are just crazy good. But like I said, it's good racing. The track is the right size. The people that run it really know how to prep a track, and they make it to where it's it's on the gas it's some good racing, like I said.
Really, truly is. Now, you're out at the Chili Bowl. You're owning the car for AJ.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you had to ship your fire suit and helmet down. How did they con you to get back behind the wheel of the car, of a different car?
Yeah, well, so my buddy Landon Simon, who had my car, he was taking care of my car, pitted with Ryan Hall, a great racer out of the Texas area, Dallas area, and he had a couple midgets there, and he had one that came available, and he said, hey, would you be interested in driving this? And I said, yeah, maybe next year. Oh, yeah, no problem, because I was thinking, well, let me get some practice, let me get some races.
Yeah.
And those are nice cars. Don't get me wrong; they're very nice cars. The tall bodies, the tall cages, all the stuff. And so anyway, I said yeah. So then I had no suit, no nothing. Just basically what I was wearing. So I phoned in my buddy, got Caleb, my guy that works for me, and he shipped in my helmet, my suit, and I was in that thing. And then we had ignition problems. But the thing that I did not want to do I'm pretty savvy when it comes to. I didn't want to be in the early heavy hammer down race, and as far as the heats, I wanted to be heat number 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
What do I pick? It's a random pick. I was heat number 2, which is lockdown, a lot of tear offs, the most difficult to me. And so I made a couple laps under power, and I'm sitting there. It took me 2 or 3 laps because I had a full containment seat, which I've never driven with one.
Oh, that's true.
And so it was all pardon me.
Been since 2010 that you've ran a midget.
Yeah, so I had all these things around me, so I couldn't quite reach, and that tear offs on both sides. So I'm trying to figure out. So I'm thinking I'm going to wreck here because I can't even see. So I finally just slowed up, got out of the way, tore it off, and then because I've been racing my iRacing, it kind of came back to me. I got the feel of what it's like because I do quite a bit of iRacing, midgets, sprints, the late models. So I was able to get in there and really had I not raced any iRacing, there was no way I would have said, Ryan, thank you, but no thank you. But I was, I guess, dumb enough to figure, I can correlate what I do with iRacing and make it work. And, I didn't get tired and winded like I thought I would. And I did okay, I thought. So, but we'd had a little ignition problems, and they wired the switch the wrong way. But anyway, it was a good time. Did I think I can get back in there? No, I made enough laps for me to realize that, what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to go somewhere. And I still may do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And race 3 or 4 races, get good and winded, get the feel of it again. If I want to just get in there and number one, I don't want to get anybody's way. Number 2, I don't want to go and wreck my nice new car.
Right, yeah.
And I want to be healthy to start my own season in February. So, but it's a good time. Like I said, it's for all the reasons I mentioned. I enjoy the cars. I love the cars. And I'm not a street rod or hot rod guy where I have a bunch of cars. I like race cars.
Right.
And if it's not a drag car, I like these kind of cars. So what are these cars going to do between Chili Bowl and the Chili Bowl? They're going to sit in my lobby at my shop, and I'm going to polish them, and they're going to be sitting there to show people that walk in, hey, this is my little my side deal, what I do.
Do you get the chance to follow sprint car racing much? I know you're very busy, but we live in this era of dirt vision and flow.
I do.
Which is a great era.
Yep.
Do you follow it along much?
Absolutely, I do. And the little short 3 to 5 minute videos.
Yes.
That by the way, I want to mention one guy, Anthony Macri. I met Anthony, and what was crazy about Anthony is he was a drag race fan of mine to a certain degree. He knew who I was, and I'm like, the concrete kid, man. This guy. So he's won like 4 or 5 in a row. He's on it. So it was Ricky Thornton Jr., who's a late model driver. So I know I'm jumped around here a little bit, but I forget where were we on the
just following along with sprint car racing.
So I do. So I follow the top series, and obviously the All Stars with Tony and in that series, and I'm friends with some of the guys. Barry Jackson, crew chief for the 5 team. He and I talk all the time. So yeah, I do follow. And these, like I say, the advent of YouTube makes it where I can watch a video and watch it start to finish without having to watch the race. So yeah, that's really cool.
Fun stuff, that's for sure. Yeah. Finally, before we get you out of here, one of the things that I've just enjoyed following on your Instagram, and I understand the business aspect of this, you have SnapOn Tools as your sponsor, and it just looks to me like you have a great rapport relationship with Snap-on, but it seems to me like you're pretty comfortable, and of course your background is in a truck garage.
Yep.
You seem like the perfect guy for that, to walk into a shop or to walk into a tool salesman and kind of know what you're doing. That partnership has had to be really good for your program, and you just literally came from being out with some SnapOn guys before you came over to the studio.
Yeah, one of the things that SnapOn enjoys or wants that I can do is reach out and touch the customer or their franchisee. SnapOn has over 300 or 3,500 guys in these trucks traveling all over the country. So any market I go to, on Thursday, I'll actually go 3 or 4 or 5 hours and ride along with the SnapOn franchisee and get to know some of the customers, take photo cards, autograph them. And it's my way of connecting with the customer. And then we have our hospitality during the race weekend. So it's a great partnership. It's gone on for many, many years now. I'm hoping it goes on many more. But they're about customer service, and that's what I love about it. I get out there and talk about mechanical stuff, and I talk about what they do. They want to know about racing, and so yeah, it's a great fit.
Well, I'll tell you, you talk about your hospitality. The other thing on your Instagram was some pork butts a few weeks ago. What's it, Grodin's Gourmet? You had a barbecue king come in and fed the SnapOn guys and gals. Man, I'll tell you, that's pretty cool.
Well, what's unique about drag racing is that we're able to, our pit area, we can have our hospitality rig parked literally right next to it. So it's behind the locker room, and people get to see us work on the cars and start up the engines and breathe all the nitro and all that stuff. So it's a unique thing.
Finally, 11-year-old daughter.
Yep.
Is it Raya?
Raya, yep.
Raya, okay.
R-Y-A-A-H.
Yeah, exactly. The spelling on it kind of. What's she think of the old man drag racing? Does she have any high-speed dreams, or don't we know yet?
Not yet. Raya is a girly girl.
Okay.
She loves her cooking. She loves her arts and crafts and things like that. And she sat in the car and she likes putting my helmet on and doing that stuff. But she, she worries a little bit about my safety. She knows, what we do is it has its moments. But I get on her when she gets on her little, I forget, her little battery powered, rollerblade or anything with. I says, Raya, how would you like? And she says, Dad, I don't need a helmet. I said, Raya, how would you like it if I jumped in my car and went 330 without my helmet? She thinks about that. So I said, always wear your helmet. With anything with wheels, wear a helmet. But no, Raya's great. She, she's not quite into the racing yet. So it's going to be a little cheaper for me when she's older, right? I get away without having to buy her into racing, I guess.
Yeah, Aaron Evernham, my co-host on the show, don't get into horses. Don't introduce her to horses because she's horses or. And then I look at like Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. All of their kids are racing and everything, and I'm like, dude, you've set yourself up. You've set yourself up for a big college expense with this.
Oh yeah, my brother Tony is starting to get his son Desi into racing, and he's starting to do it. So there might be a replacement for me in the making there. You never know.
Man, great hanging out with you, man.
Hey,
I appreciate you swinging by.
Always
good to catch up
man.
with you.
Yep,
always,
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
My man, there we go.
Yep.
My man, Cruz Pedregon, joining us here in the post office.
Thank you.